So this is Ron Mills with Politics Left, Right, and Center, PLRC. I just had someone tell me that all non-citizens were illegal immigrants. That's just crazy. This is what the uninformed, underinformed, undereducated Trump base believes. There is legal immigration where people fill out paperwork in their own country. They get a visa to come to this country, then they get a work pass, and it's a whole process. It takes about 5 years to become a citizen. Then there's asylum seekers. Most asylum seekers aren't down there at the border, but we do have thousands coming in now, and maybe even more so than when Trump took over, because he took the money away from their countries, and their countries were already being ran by drug lords, and young girls sold to prostitution and boys put into the service of the drug lords. So they're escaping their country in Guatemala, in El Salvador, and in some other Central American countries. Now, they are legally coming into this country. It is 1921 law says you can seek asylum by having 1 foot in this country, which means they've got to come to this country, Donald Trump, not Mexico. They need to come to this country through a port of entry, which means as soon as they get here, they say, I want asylum. They are tagged right there, put into the system for asylum. Only 1 in 5 will get the asylum, and they'll have to go back. They will have to find a sponsor in this country to provide for them and guarantee that they will show up to all their court dates. If they miss 1 court date, they will be hunted down and sent back to whatever country they came from. That part, I think you should send them to Mexico, because if they go back to their home country, they'll be killed immediately. But so, only 1 in 5 get through. They're legal immigrants. Do not listen to Donald Trump. Donald Trump thinks during the Revolutionary War, the Continental Army took over the airports. Donald Trump thinks that a fort that was built in 1812 was a revolutionary fort, McHenry. It was not. And he thinks the Star-Spangled Banner was written during the Revolutionary War. It was not the War of 1812. But I do digress. Donald Trump just pulls stuff out of his ass. He doesn't even use facts. In fact, he doesn't even tell people around him what he's doing. He just blurts out nonsense, and it's utter nonsense that they can't complete. Like breaking the U.S. Supreme Court and doing an executive order on doing the consensus question. He could legally do that if he could come up with a plausible cause. Like, for example, after World War II in 1950, they had a question that says, were you born in this country? If not, are you nationalized? They just wanted to see, because there was a lot of immigration after World War II to this country and South America. So the question was in 1950, are you a citizen? Are you an American? What country did you come from? And then are you naturalized, which means you became a citizen after you got here. That was just to find out how many non-naturalized citizens, but it didn't count toward the count. Donald seems to think he can do it and count toward the count. It cannot. He can ask any question he wants. It just can't count toward the count. You can ask, do you have blonde hair? That's okay, as long as it doesn't count for the count. Now we digress. The people at the southern border, Mexican, it's not Mexicans. There's some drug lords coming through, and we need to stop them. We can do that with drones, and we can do that with modern technology. The billions of dollars, the $1 billion per mile to build that wall is outrageous. Somebody's getting hugely rich, one of Donald Trump's friends. You can use drones and electronics and electric fences to stop all that stuff. In any case, there is 3 forms of immigration, 4 forms really. You can do asylum. Most asylum seekers fly in here on an airplane. They don't come down to the southern border. That's just Central American children. Let me say this again. Children. Children should not be put in cages and treated like animals. This country is going to be judged for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is going to go down in the history not only as the worst president, but the biggest murderer ever to lead any country. And that includes Adolf Hitler. Anyone who supports Donald Trump at this point, if they're informed that all the atrocities that he does every day, needs to go to prison and needs to go to prison immediately. We need to take them out of our population. They shouldn't be allowed to drive. They shouldn't be allowed to even be in public. They should be locked up in cages, just like those kids on the border. In any case, there is legal immigration. There's illegal immigration. Do you know most of the legal immigration, you know where it comes from? Asia! Asia! There are Chinese and Taiwanese in Asia. They actually end up having tankers full of them. In tankers, they put these Chinese people in the same thing you see down at the port of Miami, where they just put it on a truck. Well, they just put one of those vehicles, one of those vessels on with full of Chinese people. That's who's coming in illegally. Chinese, Russians real big at it. Russians are real big at it. They're trying to get rid of Putin. You know, that's Donald Trump's friend, and he wants to make United States into Russia. Well, the Russians are just flying in on a visa and overstaying the visa. 90% of illegal immigration is overstaying a visa. I want to see ICE go after those folks. Why? Because they're white and educated? Oh, no. Oh, no. Many of them come from the Caribbean. Many of them come from South America. Many of them come from Europe. I've known many Europeans that overstayed their visa. And you know, even when they overstay the visa, they can fly back home and get a 6-month extended visa. I knew someone who did that many years ago, a good friend from England. He didn't want to become an American citizen because he found a lot wrong with it. Well, he just had a lot of opinions. In any case, he overstayed his visa, but you know, as soon as he found this MG for $4,000, with the driver's side being on the right side, he took it and sent it over to London and went back to London for his MG that he bought for $4,000. He claims at that time in the 80s it would cost $25,000 in England. In any case, he overstayed his visa. He stayed here 3 years. They're usually white, blue-eyed, and educated. That's who's staying here illegally. I should be not going, you know, they should also go after the ones that didn't show up for their hearings. If you don't show up for your hearing and you have a sponsor family, the sponsor family needs to start paying for us to go pick this guy up. I agree with that. You agreed, whether it's for during asylum or whether it's during a visa process or a citizenship process. After the 1945, after the war, they used to have an ad in all the time that you have to do an alien address. It was a green card. Every January, you had to go to the post office and fill out an alien card that you had to carry with you all the time that said where you lived. So that way they could get, because there were a lot of aliens that came over from World War II. Interesting enough, they wouldn't let that boat come in here full of people, Jews that were going to be killed. Most of them were killed when they went back to Germany. But most of the 1945 was just because after World War II, so many people came in legally and illegally. But in 1921, they have a law called Asylum. And it's not asylum from Norway. No, there's no one from Norway coming in for asylum, Donald Trump. Who's coming in for asylum right now are mostly children and women from Central America. Donald Trump gives them their billions of dollars money back. If we spend the billions in their country lifting them up, they won't be coming here. He knows that. He's using it for an election purposes. Donald Trump is going to go on open borders. There's no such thing. No Democrat wants that but they'll take one of the debates and rephrase it. Like all those videos, all those right-wing videos you see online. 99.9% of them are fake. F-A-K-E, fake. They're all put up and edited. I just saw one with supposedly transgender with kids. That was all faked. You could tell it was all faked. It was all green screened. It was all fake. Anyway, here comes Christian, so we got to go. He's got more opinions than Downs have green pills.